Hi everyone, welcome to Lentamania tutorial. My name is Anna Sachno. Today we're going to crochet this interesting decorative shell with a hook. It is about 36 centimeters long. The widest part is about 18 centimeters. This tutorial is for those who already know how to crochet and familiar with such basic elements as single and double crochets, increases and decreases. So if you do, the tutorial won't seem difficult. But if you are a newcomer, I would not advise starting with this pattern. It has, in my opinion, an average level of complexity, closer to advanced even. To make such shell, we'll need 2 skeins of yarn. I'm using polyester yarn. The thread is 5 millimeters wide. Each skein is about 80 meters long. The yarn is rather thin, it resembles a shoelace a bit. I've chosen purple color. You will also need a crochet hook. I've decided to use a 6 millimeter hook, but if you want your shell to be very thick and hold its shape really well, you might use a 5 millimeter hook. I also recommend using a stitch marker. It would make your life easier and help navigate within the rows. I live in Russia and have been making free tutorials in Russian for 5 years already. There are over 40 free tutorials on my Russian channel. And this year, in response to your demands, I created an English channel. You can donate to help me develop the English version of my channel. These donations will help me translate subtitles to English and voice over more tutorials. You may also add subtitles in your own language and thus contribute to the channel's development. I really appreciate your help. First, let's make a slip knot. Insert the hook, draw the thread, and make 6 single crochets. You might stop once you have 6 braids like that on top. This is enough for the slip knot. Find the tail, tighten the slip knot, and make a circle. Now we need to join the beginning with the end of the row. We can do it using a standard technique. Slip the hook under both loops of the first stitch and make a slip stitch through the last stitch of the row. Here is our circle. Now make 3 chain stitches and then let's move on to single crochets. Yarn over, slip the hook under both loops of the first stitch, draw the yarn and crochet 2 stitches together and then another pair. Yarn over, draw the yarn, crochet 2 stitches together and then another 2 together. Thus we're crocheting each stitch without increases. In the end, we need this circle to start resembling a small cup. Turn the cup inside out. Here are the chain stitches we've made in the beginning. Now we need to join the first with the last stitch again. Slip the hook under both loops of the chain stitch, like that, and join. Pull this loop through the last stitch. We've got this small cup now. It is made of 6 single crochets and 6 double crochets. Now let's start making the whorls of our shell. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here is the cup we've just made, and the whorls will be positioned straight across. So now we'll be gradually turning and start making these whorls in spiral rounds at right angles. We're going to turn our work gradually and make single crochets back and forth with half stitches only. I will show you later Looking at the shell, you may see that we'll be gradually adding the number of stitches in the rows. The broadest part will consist of 11 single crochets. We'll join each part to the rest of the work using a particular technique. And in general, the crocheting principle is not very complicated once you understand it. The most challenging part is probably this first whorl, the smallest one, because the pattern is not visible yet and crochet principle is new. But once this whorl is ready, you'll quickly grasp the idea and will be able to move on without any prompting. So you won't even need any guidelines. First, make 2 chain stitches and make a single crochet into the first chain stitch that we've made. It will be the first row of the first whorl. Then we need to join this row with the cup. Slip the hook under both loops of the first single crochet and make a slip stitch. That's how it looks. Make a chain stitch, turn the work around, and then move the chain stitch to the right a bit. Here are 2 braids, one of which is a slip stitch, another one is a single crochet of the previous row. Now, slip the hook under the back loop of the slip stitch. So not under the whole stitch, but just its back loop, just under one thread. Pull out the yarn and make a single crochet. Then, slip the hook under the back loop of the slip stitch. But crochet it as a slip stitch, like that. Make a chain stitch and turn the work around again. Now simply repeat after me and don't try to understand the principle yet. It won't be clear at this stage. The first part is the smallest one, yet the most difficult. It's better to just memorize and repeat, and the overall pattern will start to make sense a bit later. So again, we've made 2 braids and a chain stitch. Now slip the hook under the back loop of the first braid and crochet a slip stitch. Make a single crochet out of the next braid, and another row is done. We need to join into our cup, and to do that, let's find the next stitch without single crochet in it. Here it is. Slip the hook under both loops of the stitch and make a slip stitch. Turn the work around, make a chain stitch again. Look, now we've got 3 braids in a row. The first is the slip stitch. The second is the single crochet, and the third is the slip stitch that we've made at the beginning of the row. Make a single crochet out of the first braid. Same for the next braid. And a slip stitch out of the third braid. Like that. Then make a chain stitch and turn the work around. Here are the 3 braids again. Make a slip stitch out of the first braid and single crochets out of the other 2. Always slip the hook under the back loop. Join the row to the cup. Slip the hook under both loops of the stitch and make a slip stitch. And make a chain stitch, turn the work around. Now there are 4 braids in a row. We're going to make single crochets out of the first 3 of them and a slip stitch out of the 4th one. 3 single crochets are ready. Now we're making a slip stitch. Make a chain stitch and turn the work around. Here are the 4 braids again. Make a slip stitch out of the first braid and single crochets out of the remaining 3. Join this row to the cup, but do not insert the hook into the next free stitch. Insert it into the same stitch again. Insert the hook into the same stitch for the second time. Make a chain stitch and turn the work around. We've made the first and the most complex section of our shell. We've ended up with this row consisting of 3 single crochets and 1 slip stitch. There is a slip stitch in every row of this section. If you turn the work around like that, you'll see the first whirl. And that's how it looks on a finished shell. The rows of the second section will consist of 4 single crochets and 1 slip stitch. And now I will explain the basic principles of creating this pattern. For convenience sake, we'll split the shell into sections so that you could understand how many single crochets to make in each of them. But the principle will remain the same. We'll always be slipping the hook under the back loop of the stitch, and we'll always be turning the work around. The edge that is not joined to the cup will always end up with a slip stitch plus a chain stitch. And it will start similarly with a chain stitch, then a slip stitch. Every row will be the same without any exceptions. The number of single crochets will depend on the section we're working on. The finished rows will be joined to the rest of the work with the help of a slip stitch. So, based on this principle, we're going to crochet the rest of the whorls, adding 1 single crochet within each section. The second section will consist of 5 pairs of rows with 4 single crochets. It's really convenient to count pairs of rows because they are rather bulky. We will need to count quite a lot as we move on. So we are starting the second section. Here we are making 4 single crochets with 1 slip stitch. So make a single crochet out of this stitch in order to increase the number of single crochets from 3 to 4. You may count them 1, 2, 3, 4 single crochets, then a slip stitch. A chain stitch, and turn the work around. A slip stitch again, since we're now crocheting in the opposite direction, and make 4 single crochets. The first pair of rows in the second section is ready. I highly recommend to mark the beginning of the section with the stitch marker. Overall, there will be 5 pairs of rows in this section. We've already made 1. And before we continue, I'll explain how to join the rows. We'll be using a certain technique to join the rows to the rest of the shell. We will be alternating. Look, we joined 2 rows to the previous stitch, and to the next stitch we'll be joining 1 row. Then 2 rows again to the next stitch, then 1 row, and so on. So thus always alternate 2 rows in 1 stitch, and then 1 row in 1 stitch again. 2 rows in 1 stitch, then 1 row in another stitch. We'll come back to this later, so don't worry if you haven't fully understood. Now join the row with a slip stitch, make a chain stitch, and turn the work around. Like I said, the rows of the second section will consist of 4 single crochets and 1 slip stitch. It means we won't have to make this slip stitch now. We won't be increasing the number of single crochets. We will make 4 single crochets back and forth. All in all, 10 times. That's why in this section we are not making the slip stitch. Note that here I mean that we're not making the slip stitches within the rows, those stitches that join the section to the rest of the work. but we do make the slip stitches that are near the edge in every single row. Make 4 single crochets and 1 slip stitch. Check yourself. Always count again if you are afraid of making excess crochets. There should be 4 single crochets that look like check marks, plus 1 slip stitch that doesn't look like a check mark. Make a turning chain, turn the work around, make a slip stitch again, so that the edges become a bit shrunk. These slip stitches are here for a reason. Thanks to them, the whorls look bulky and curled. Now, make 4 single crochets again. Once they're ready, we'll have the second pair of rows in the second section. And now we are approaching the spot where the row joins the cup. The previous row we joined to the next empty stitch, and this row will also join to an empty stitch, but we'll add another one later. Make a slip stitch, turn the work around, make 4 single crochets again. 4 check marks are ready. Slip stitch, chain stitch, turn the work around, slip stitch, 4 single crochets, and always slip the hook under the back loop. Four check marks are ready. Now we need to join the row to the main part. Look, we've joined 1 row to that stitch, which means we'll need to join 2 rows to this stitch. One is already joined. Now insert the hook into the same slot and join the row. Make a turning chain and turn the work around. Make 4 single crochets with a slip stitch again. After that, a chain stitch, turn the work around, and again a slip stitch and 4 single crochets. Let me show you how to calculate pairs of rows. We've begun the second section with this pair, the first pair, second, third, and now we are finishing the 4th one. The 5th pair will be the last in this section. Let me show you a bit more of how I join the rows. We've joined 2 rows to the previous stitch, which means we need to join just 1 to the next stitch. I'm starting to crochet the last pair of rows in this section. One, two, three, four, 5. The 5th pair of rows in the second section is ready. Like I said, we're joining just 1 row to this stitch. So now I'm inserting the hook into the next one. We're joining 2 rows to it. Make a turning chain and start to crochet this 3rd section. It will consist of the rows with 5 single crochets in them and 1 slip stitch. Overall, there will be 6 pairs of rows. First, we need to add 1 stitch because the previous row only has 4 single crochets. To do that, insert the hook into the outermost slip stitch closest to the chain stitch. As usual, make a Keep on crocheting as usual up to the slip stitch. You should be able to count 5 check marks in the first row. Now make a slip stitch. Turn the work around. And then make a slip stitch and 5 single crochets in the opposite direction. Done. Now let's do the joining. We've joined this one row to this stitch, so we're going to join 2 rows to the next one. One is already joined. Let's add another one with a slip stitch and then make a turning chain. This is the first pair of rows in the third section. You can indicate it with a stitch marker. It will help you count afterwards. So the first pair of the third section is ready. Overall, let me remind you, there will be 6 of them. Here are 5 check marks. Check yourself from time to time. You may notice that you've crocheted something extra and got the wrong amount of stitches. Now join the row to the rest of the work. We've joined the 2 previous rows to this stitch. It means we need to find the next one, which is free, and at this point we're starting to join the rows to the whorls and not the cup anymore. Let me show you how we're going to do that. There are these slots between the pairs of rows that originated from the chain stitches. We will be joining the next rows to these slots between the pairs of rows. Insert the hook into the first slot. Make a slip stitch and a chain stitch, and the rest is the same. Turn the work around. I think you've already understood how to make the third section. You need to make a certain amount of single crochets, slip stitch, chain stitch, slip stitch again, and 5 single crochets. One, two, three, four, 5. We join 2 rows to this slot, so 1 row to the next one, and 2 rows again to the next free slot. I've already joined 1, and the next pair of rows I will join to the same slot again. I've already made 3 pairs of rows in the third section. There are 3 left. The third section is ready. Here is our stitch marker. First pair of rows, second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth. And we're moving on to the fourth section. The rows of the fourth part will consist of 6 single crochets and 1 slip stitch. Overall, we'll make 8 pairs of rows. First, we need to increase the number of single crochets to 6. For that, make a slip stitch as a single crochet. Then follow the usual pattern and turn the work around in the end of the row. In total, you should get 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 check marks plus 1 slip stitch. slip stitch, chain stitch, turn the work around, a slip stitch again, and 6 single crochets. Now look for the slot to join our row to. 2 rows here, 1 here, so we need to join 2 rows to this slot. Make a slip stitch, a chain stitch, and insert the marker into the first pair of rows in the 4th section. The crocheting principle remains the same. The 4th section consists of 8 pairs of rows. Don't add additional single crochets. 8 pairs of rows, 6 single crochets within them plus 1 slip stitch. The 4th section is ready. I've made 8 pairs of rows, and now let's move on to the 5th section. Here, as usual, we'll add 1 single crochet. So rows in this section will consist of 7 single crochets plus 1 slip stitch. Overall, 9 pairs of rows in the section. At this point, I think you've already understood how to crochet the shell. Even now, its shape is already quite distinguishable. There is already a small shell. We won't be adding anything principally new to the pattern, just go on by the same principle. And depending on a section, simply increase. The width will increase, and join the rows to the rest of the work by the same principle. 1 row to 1 slot, then 2 rows to 1 slot, 1 row, 2 rows. Join 2 pairs of rows to 1 slot, 1 pair to 1 slot, 2 pairs again, then 1, and so on. Make all other whorls of your shell based on this principle. That's why now you'll see just a list of sections on the screen. I indicated the number of single crochets in each section and the number of pairs of rows. If you follow this list, after a while you will go all the way through and make all the whorls in your shell. After that, I'll show you how to make a hook, how to finish the work and make these lines between the whorls more defined and contoured, and how to make the whorls puffier. You might stop adding whorls anytime you want. As soon as you are satisfied with the size of your shell, simply stop adding new whorls and move on to the part where I explain how to crochet the hook and how to make the shell look puffier. So this is my shell. I've made 8 sections and stopped on the 9th one, having made 6.5 pairs of rows. This number 6.5 is because I need this loop for the hook that we're going to make. I don't see any point in crocheting in the opposite direction and then artificially join the hook to the rest of the body. Let's stop at this point and start making our hook. But if you want a bigger shell, you can finish the 9th section, make 21 pairs of rows. In the same way, you may think up new additional sections, calculate the necessary number of rows, and make a bigger shell. In order to gradually transition from the shell to the hook, and make the hook look nice, make 5 single crochets in this direction. Start here between 2 pairs of rows. Insert the hook and make 1 single crochet. Again, search for the stitch between the rows. Insert the hook. And according to this rule, make 4 single crochets. 4 single crochets are ready. Like that, the top of the shell has a slightly cockled edge, and it follows the shape of the shell. Insert the hook between rows again. Make a slip stitch to smooth out the junction point. Make a turning chain and turn the work around. Now, of course, skip this stitch with a chain stitch in it. Insert the hook into the next one. Make a single crochet and keep on making single crochets until you reach the corner. Here we are. I'm going to make a single crochet out of this stitch as well. And that's how it looks. Overall, we've made 6 single crochets. You may count these 6 check marks. Now we need to make 7 chain stitches for the hook of our shell. We're going to make this hook here. Turn the work around again and start crocheting in the opposite direction. Again, single crochets. I'm not crocheting the last chain stitch that I've picked up. It will serve as a turning chain. And then simply make single crochets. That's how our hook looks like. Again, we are making single crochets. That's where we started the previous row, and this time let's add 2 single crochets to smooth out this transition to the body of the shell. We've reached the place to which we join the first row of single crochets. Make a single crochet in it as well, and make 2 additional single crochets in the slots between pairs of rows. And make a slip stitch out of the 3rd stitch between the rows. A chain stitch again and turn the work around. Crochet in the opposite direction. Skip the first stitch to further smooth the transition from the hook to the main body of the shell. Make single crochets. We've reached the extension, and now let's make 4 chain stitches. So now we'll be gradually making the slot in our hook. We've made 4 chain stitches, so proportionally skip 4 single crochets on the lower part, under the chains. Insert the hook into the 5th stitch and make a single crochet. Thus we've made a slot. Don't forget to make a single crochet out of the last stitch as well. Make a turning chain, turn the work around. Continue making single crochets in the opposite direction. Skip the stitch with the turning chain in it. course, don't forget about the chain stitches. Here is our hook. Continue making single crochets. This is our last row. So now once we get to the edge of our shell, we'll start crocheting around the shell until we get to the connection line of whorls. Let me explain what it means. This is a transition point between our rows and the edge of the shell. Make single crochets here as well. That's how it looks. Continue to crochet along the edge in the same way. Insert the hook in between pairs of rows and make single crochets. Once again, insert the hook between the rows and make a single crochet. Go on until you get to the connection point. And at that point, we won't cut the yarn off. We will continue crocheting around the whorls. Thus, the shell will shape up, have sharper contour, and the whorls will look puffier. That's how it looks after I crocheted around the edge and added the hook. Now we need to finish the connecting lines between the whorls. My hook is in the last stitch of the edge. Now we'll need to insert the hook into the same slots between the pairs of rows in the bottom whorl. There are pairs of rows here as well, but they are positioned differently. We need to insert the hook between the rows of the bottom whorl. Otherwise, the looks will change and it won't be that smooth. So insert the hook between the rows. Pull out the working thread that you should hide inside the shell in advance and make a slip stitch. Then again, insert the hook between the rows and make a slip stitch. Don't make them too loose. The slip stitches should be tight. And make sure they are of the same size. These stitches will be on the outside of the shell, and the overall appearance of the shell will depend on them. So they should be really neat. Keep on crocheting around the connecting line. Go in spiral rounds. Don't be afraid that the shell gets a bit crumpled. Once you finish crocheting around the whorls, it will get its shape back. Besides, you may use an iron to correct the shape. Keep on crocheting until you get to the cup. I've reached the cup and made my last slip stitch. Now I'm cutting the thread inside the shell, pulling the thread out. Insert the hook the other way around. Pull the tail inside the shell. And weave the tail in. That is pretty much all. We're done crocheting around the shell. The only thing I would recommend to steam the hook off. Thus the work will shape up and look neater. So this is our shell. It is about 36 centimeters long. The widest part is about 18 centimeters. I've used almost 2 skeins of polyester yarn. The threads are 5 millimeters wide and they're rather thin. They resemble shoelaces a bit. I used 6 millimeter hook, but you may choose a smaller one. In this case, your shell will also be smaller. And you should absolutely use a stitch marker. Thanks for watching my tutorial, and I'd appreciate if you left comments below. You may contribute to the channel by donating or translating the subtitles to your language. I wish you all a great day and beautiful decorative shells. Bye bye!